What is up, guys? Speed here, and today we got a mentality video. This is going to be psychology, but the purpose of this video is I'm going to be giving 5 new mind frames, 5 tips that you guys need to implement or think about that I'll be going over to give you guys my perspective on how I got to, a high rank. What are my perspectives? How did I look at the game? Because I really do believe if you want to get better at Dota, it all stems off of your ability to think about the game and be willing to learn. And I'm going to be talking about different ways that I do this, different ways I look at the game. Some of it is actually just straight up Dota knowledge. Some of it, I guess, applies to even life. So Speed, your life coach here. Let's go. Nah, but in all seriousness, these are 5 tips that are really good tips on Dota and are really good rules of thumb that will allow you to understand the game more simply, but also more effectively. So yeah, let's get into it. And if you're excited for this, I recommend you smash the like button right now. Absolutely smash it. And then, maybe you have like a Nature's Prophet doll. I actually do. You can use him to click the like button as well. I would appreciate that a ton. So do that right now. Click the like button and let's get into the video. And in all seriousness, I do want to mention one more thing. If you guys like the content I make here, I also make a lot of stuff over on the gameleap website that you simply will never see here on YouTube. I actually make a video every single day for the website. I'm not going to say one of my videos comes out there every single day, but I am making a new exclusive piece of content every single day with the help of our editors to make sure you guys get the best information. So if you appreciate what I do here and you like the content that I make here and you want to get better as fast as possible, I recommend you click the link down below to get a 25% discount to gameleap.com. And so yeah, you can get more of my content. I recently did a replay analysis of a Rubik game that was super in-depth, right? Super in-depth. I do a lot of carry content as well, so go check it out. Alright, so the first point we're going to get into is more of a Dota-based point. It's not as much of a mindset, it's more of a strategy thing. So this is one that I feel very strongly about. So I've been watching more and actually just recently watched a ton of mid-range MMR games in a row. I think it was around 3 to 4K average. I had to watch a ton. And I noticed a lot of trends, like particular trends that are just holding people back. Number 1 is this point here. After winning fights, or when you are ahead, look to control areas and not necessarily to push towers. This is huge in Dota. Just the understanding that controlling areas and pushing in creep waves around those areas is the best way to keep a lead and push that lead, or is at least the simplest way. There's a lot of advanced plays that Team Secret and OG make in their movements that are ridiculous, but fundamentally, the simplest and most effective way to keep a lead and continue snowballing is after winning fights or when you have an advantage, do not walk up to the nearest tower that is going to get glyphed, that is going to shred you. They've buffed towers, they buffed glyph, they buffed multi-shot. Don't do that. Go walk up to the nearest hill, throw up a ward, cut the mid wave, cut top lane. Oh, top lane's not safe? Okay, cut mid wave, cut bottom wave. Pick 2, control the area, control the hill, sit there, look for pickoffs. This is huge, and I actually want to segue that into my second point here, and that is when you are split pushing, the goal is not to push, right? The goal is not to push, and this is why I wanted to put this as 1 and 2. It's not to push. So if you're alone, you're split pushing, maybe the game's not going well, maybe you're just farming, and you want to split up the map. The goal is not to get the tower. The goal here, when you are split pushing, or I'm even going to start using the term split farming so people understand what I'm saying, or understand the real message, or split pressure, I like that as well, is when you are splitting up the map and hitting creep waves away from your team. The goal is to relieve pressure from your towers, number 1. It is to get farmed, and it is to force rotations and give vision of the enemy team. Right? Of course it's going to force rotations. People want to defend their towers. They also want to kill lane creeps, right? They want to do all these things. So they want to, they want to get farmed too. So you're going to get vision of them. And of course, when you're split pushing, you're going to be close to neutral camps. You're going to be constantly farming lane creeps. That's how you get farmed. That's the goal of split pushing. It's to draw out the game by forcing rotations, maybe even creating good fights, right? You can create number advantages by forcing an enemy back and TPing to a fight while split pushing, right? That's an option. It's known as, like, I guess, the AM strat for a lot of people, right? Split pushes AM, blink into trees, TP back, blink into the fight. That's a pretty common strategy, but you can do that as any hero. You could do that as Dazzle. You could do that as Bane. Frankly, you honestly could. And it works on all of these heroes. But I recommend doing that on Bane? Rarely. But hopefully you guys get the point here. Split push, not to take the towers. So if you're a carry and you're trying to get farmed, it's 15 minutes in. You're trying to hit that sick Battlefield Radiance timing. Please Do not hit a bottom or top tier 1 tower. Can you hit a mid tier 1 tower? Yeah, if your team is grouped up and you want to collapse on mid and it's coordinated, fine. But do not walk up to tier 1 towers, tier 2 towers in the side lanes. It is suicide. It rarely works. These fights are terrible. Just hit the nearby camp and you are going to do so much better. And that is really the main thing about split pushing. It can be 30 minutes in. Do not walk to the nearby tower. Do not show your position. Do not be readable. Do not be as predictable. Stay off the map. Force rotations. Get farmed. Stay away from towers. And the last thing I'd just like to say about that point is, you know, the only reason why you would want to hit a tower is if you specifically need to force people back, right? Like you really, really want to force them to TP. That's when you definitely want to hit the tower. Or if your hero naturally can take towers very quickly, you will likely be more inclined to do that. Like if you're a Lycan or a Beastmaster or a Prophet, sure, because your hero can do that. Next up at number 3 is something that has fascinated me over the last 1 to 2 months, and that is, and I've been paying attention to it more and more, keeping track of how many people actually do this and say this, but that is that people tell themselves that if they switch their item builds, they would have won. Why do I always hear this? I really do. I've been talking to so many people. I have coaching students who do this, and I've done this in the past as well. It's like, oh, if I just want a different item here, or if I had an early Breakeepy, I could have won. And while this can be true, I'm not denying that items have significance in Dota. They have an absurd significance. I constantly have to tell people to buy different items and such, often because they don't just copy builds, which is, I'm not even going to get into that. Guys, just copy pros, but nonetheless, right? Do not tell yourself that if you bought one item that is similar to the item you bought, like let's say it's like buying Satanic instead of Beekeepy or Beekeepy instead of Satanic. Yes, this can have a major impact on the game. I'm not denying that, right? Like they're completely different items. But at the end of the day, I want you guys to focus less on item builds, which you can easily learn. You just have to look it up a couple times and then understand the significance. You need to focus on concepts. You need to focus on timings. You need to focus on matchups. All this hard stuff that people simply ignore because they're too caught up in looking at the obvious, right? Oh, what is something that you can easily see, right? What is something that you can easily blame? Oh, items, it's perfect. Items, you can complain about them all the time. But the questions people don't ask is, when did you get that item, right? How did you get that item? Did you put pressure? Did you basically throw the game because you were farming too much? Like, these are the important questions. And I really don't think people ask themselves those questions. And I'm actually going to go into that in the 5th point as well, because I really do want to stress it. But please, guys, stop telling yourself that items are like the biggest issue. While they matter a ton. I love Dota. One of the biggest reasons I played Dota is because of items. Like, just the fact that you can switch it, you can be so versatile in Dota is awesome. But yeah, let's get into the 4th point. All right, this next one I think is going to help a lot of people. Hopefully it just sticks in your mind. It's something I had to work on over time as well within my ranked career in solo queue. But that is, I really recommend you guys try to avoid getting tilted over preconceived notions of heroes during the drafting phase. What I mean by this is when you see a Pudge 5 or a Techies 4, I do it too. I cringe a little bit. I'm like, ugh, right? You go like, ugh, please don't let it tilt you. I've had this issue in the past. I know when I let it get to my head, I throw the game. Not intentionally, but I play worse, right? I play worse. And it's the same thing for things like, maybe you think Lion 5 is bad in the meta. Maybe you think Quap 4 is bad. Then someone picks it. Or maybe you lost the last 2 games with an Ember Spirit mid and you're like, oh, not another Ember Spirit. Do not focus on your preconceived notions of heroes, right? You have no control over what your team picks, relatively. You can obviously suggest picks and tell them, I think this is good. You can also try to be friendly, and I guess you could learn sales or, and try to convince people. That is completely off topic. But nonetheless, all I'm saying is really try to get over this feeling. Everyone has it. I have it. You have it. When you see a hero that you do not like get picked for your team, do not tilt at it. Let it go. Move on. Understand that the game is winnable. In fact, that pause 5 Pudge, who knows? He might pop off. Especially if you play to enable him, instead of focusing on the negative thoughts that provide absolutely no value. You can focus on, hey, maybe I can pick Wraith King and I can actually throw up a stun for him. Maybe I can pick Sven and enable him in the laning stage. Maybe, right, just maybe, I can pick a hero that can self-sustain myself in lane so that when Pudge has no impact, I can sustain myself. And you might be like, Speed, didn't you just say Pudge will have no impact? Well, that's because Pudge is weak early on, so I'm saying you could pick a hero like, maybe Troll. who does well early on, right? You can deal with Pudge's weaknesses as a hero. You can focus on important things like that rather than, oh, another Pudge, GG. And finally, last but not least, at number 5, I just want to make sure you guys are very self-critical. I think, well, recently I was listening to something. I don't remember exactly where it was from. I'll have to come back to you guys. Maybe I'll even make a video on this on the gameleap website if I do come back to it. But there was 2 factors for success in this world. And number 1 is intelligence, and number 2 is conscientiousness. Now, sorry if I pronounced that like kind of in a weird way. It's a tough word. Now, but in all seriousness, I really do believe that this is somewhat true. When I coach a lot of players, I find that the players who can't be self-critical and often come up with bizarre ideas and get stuck in these ideas and never question them, or never take ideas from pros when they're all over the place. Like, that's the thing about this current world. Like, all the right ideas are everywhere. You know, that's what gameleap is here on YouTube. Like, this is absurd. This is absurd. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I even wish gameleap, or I knew more about gameleap, or I'd sign up to gameleap, which I know sounds like self-promoting, but I genuinely mean this. Like, when I was 2K, 3K MMR, if I had gameleap, my life would have been so much easier. But that's because I'm willing to listen, and I doubt my excuses, and I doubt the problems that I have. So let me really make sure you guys understand what I'm saying, and why it's important to be self-critical and stop making excuses. You know, if you just want to get angry at the game to be emotional and have fun, you know, like if that's what gets you riled up and you're like, oh, this is so fun, I get it, you know, I get it. But if your goal is to get to the next level, I don't really think you can do both. You can complain, but you still, right, like you can get angry, you can complain, but you still have to understand that you have issues and learn how to fix them. So here's a couple examples, right? One is from a carry perspective, the first one, and that's where carries say there was no space on the map for me to farm. Even if you have 5 farming cores, especially if you're not 6, 7k MMR, or like at least 4, 5, 6k MMR, and you think there's no space, it's simply not true. You're just not good enough at finding the space, right? And that's where you need to be able to look at what you just said, because I heard someone say this recently. Obviously, I'm not gonna name names, and I'm not trying to flame people. I just genuinely believe that that player actually is going to get stuck with this idea that there was actually no space, but that wasn't true. He just couldn't find the space, right? There was probably little space, less than he's used to, but there was still space, but he didn't find it, right? He wasn't quick enough to find it. He wasn't experienced enough to find it. And that's the issue there, right? So when you make an excuse, try to understand, hey, you know, why am I saying this? There's probably a back end to it. Number 2 is I couldn't get my BKB off. While this sometimes can be true and you get chain stun, holy dude, it's insane. When I watch, and this happens to a lot of players, not a few. I'm not trying to single anyone out, right? Because I've done this to myself. Like, I've thought it in my head. But people will say it out loud, I couldn't get my BKB off, and I will watch them die, and they had multiple opportunities to get their BKB off. Maybe they were 0.5 seconds, maybe it was 0.2 seconds, but there was opportunities. And yet people will say, oh, I got chain stunned. Or their BKB that they could have gotten off was preemptive, right? They should have saw the enemy team coming, or they did see the enemy team coming, or they weren't aware enough and they didn't look in the minimap, so they didn't see the enemy team coming, that type of thing. And then they're like, oh, I couldn't get it off. You could have gotten it off, but you let them chain stun you. Or on the back end, they didn't chain stun you and you didn't click it enough, right? You weren't paying enough attention. And this happens a lot to players. They don't critique themselves. They just say, I couldn't get my stuff off, guys. Please don't make fun of me. I couldn't get it off. And then when you tell them, oh, I think you could have, they're like, no, I couldn't have. I'm pretty sure I couldn't have. Like, just look back at it. You're better off being critical. I really do believe people say that type of stuff out loud because they're going defensive. It's almost like they're insecure, right? It really does feel like that to me. Maybe you guys can let me know what you think in the comments. This is a bit, I guess, like psychological to me, but I really do believe that, where people say that type of stuff, not because they actually fully think that they couldn't get their BKB off. If they do, well, they need to just look more or play the game more, if you can. But because they get defensive, right? They get defensive and they don't want to get made fun of. So they just say, here's my excuse. Please accept my excuse. Do not make fun of me. Do not question my excuse. And often in this world, I think that works. When you make an excuse, people don't question you. But I think you need to be the person who questions yourself, right? You need to be that guy who calls yourself out. Number 3 is I need a Lincolns to survive, or I need a Basher to kill the Quap. This is another one where I just don't get it, where like cores or supports will not buy an item, or will die in a fight, and then they say, oh, I died, I need a Lincolns, or I couldn't kill the Quap there, the Quap escaped, I need a Basher to kill her. That might not be it, right? That might not be the only part, and this is where it goes back to the items. People really do equate items to the only reason why they died or they couldn't get a kill. No. The reason why a pro team could be 20k behind a 3k stack and still stomp them in fights reliably, and I'm pretty convinced about that. Purely because of vision, purely because of the people that they jump, because of spell casting, because of good positioning, maximizing your range, maximizing your attack range, understanding, you know, cast ranges of the enemy opponents. What is the enemy opponent going to do? These type of things, right? They play around vision. Most importantly, they understand who their target priority is perfectly, or close to perfectly. So think about that. Please don't default to items. And finally, the last one that I really want to discuss with you guys is the common excuse I hear, that is, I can't pay my taxes because I have a gameleap subscription. Guys, simply not true. The gameleap subscription is actually going to make you millions of dollars within the next year if you sign up. That is a guarantee. I'm certainly not being sarcastic. I'm definitely 100% serious. So yeah, gameleap subscription. If you sign up right now with the code down below, not only are you going to get a discount, but you're also going to make millions in the future just because of how much value you get. Nah, but in all seriousness, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this video motivates you, inspires you, was a good listen. I really do like making these type of videos, so if you appreciate that and want more of them in the future, click the like button down below, subscribe, and I don't know, comment something. I guess we're at the end of the video, so everyone who watches to the end, you know, you're a real one. You're the real ones who care. I appreciate that, you know, especially, you know, I know you're the dedicated fans, so comment like, because this will be our secret thing. Comment, I can't pay my taxes. That's what we're going to do. Comment, I can't pay my taxes down below. And I will try to heart a couple of them. If I forget, you can get mad at me. You can spam me in Discord. But thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and peace. Before you leave, just want to say a quick message. If you're trying to get better at Dota or you just enjoyed that video, I know this is pretty general, and you're going to hear this quite a bit from me. But I recommend you sign up to gameleap.com. Why? Because I put a lot of effort into the content over there, and generally the effort I do there is different from the content you're going to see here on YouTube. It is different. In fact, I usually go a lot more in depth on topics or into niche topics that help you get to the next level even faster. Because on YouTube, I often have to keep it more mainstream, and that's even why I'm putting it at the end of this YouTube video. That's why this is at the end, because a lot of people just watch 5 minutes, they skip through just for like the dopamine spike. But if you are interested in actually getting better at Dota, I recommend you go to the description down below, get your discount right now by clicking the link, sign up, use the discount code that you're going to see there, and I hope to see you there right now. So click it, and yeah, thanks for watching.